Now, you might think, why go to all this trouble here when you can just press the record button to punch in and just do that manually? Well, if you set up this way, you can be absolutely sure of the timing, and also you get to have your hands off the unit. It's great if you're doing, say, a guitar punch by yourself. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned is the incredible effects that are available when you record. The R24 has 9 different types of effect types that you can place in line with up to 8 of your inputs, or even your track playbacks, or even the master tracks, as we'll learn later on. But for now, let's just look at an overview of the effects. Press Effect, and we can turn this insert effect on. Once you have it on, we can go down to the next setting down here, which gives us the algorithms, which are basically 9 different effect settings. And as you go through some of them, check out what happens down here on the input. Like, some of these are dual microphones. This first one here is just a microphone and it affects just one input, but the dual microphones might affect more than one input. In fact, this one here, 8-time compressors EQ, you can see that this, while it's just a single effect here, it actually affects 8 different compressors, either the 8 inputs, or you can apply these 8 compressors EQ to the playback of these tracks, either 1 through 8, 9 through 16, or 17 through 24. That means that you can have 8 compression EQ effects across all of your inputs, perfect for recording an entire drum kit. Or you could have it across 8 playback tracks as well. So do you get the idea of how powerful this effects processor is? You can place it in line with your input, up to 8 inputs here in this case, and they can all be affected. Then that effect is recorded on to a track. Conversely, you can record an input dry, no effects at all, and then apply some effects to that playback channel when you play that track back. Let's look at all the types. If we scroll back through to the very first one, which is clean, we have 24 different clean effect patches that you might apply either to any input here, 1 through 8, or the playback of any of these 24 tracks. So what's the pros and cons of applying this effect processor here to an input or a track playback? If you apply this effects processor to an input, then you can use it again and again and again. Set it up as, say, a clean effect for an acoustic guitar, record that, then as, say, a distortion for an electric guitar on another track, record that again, then maybe 8-time compressors for an entire drum kit. And then you just set up the effect processor to be tied across your inputs. Then all those effects are recorded, your performance is recorded, and those effects are recorded the tracks. This means that you can use these effects over and over again. But that's also the downside. Once the performance and that effect are on the track, they are married for better or for worse. You can't undistort your guitar, right? Compare that to just applying the effect to a single track. The effect is not recorded. The dry track goes through that effect when you press play. Change effects and you get a different result here. This really helps as the effect is never really married to a track. Now, what's the downside of this? Well, you can only really use the effect once, right, on playback. So effect across the input allows you to use it over and over again, but you are stuck with that result unless you just re-record the track. Effect across the playback of a track gives you the flexibility of never actually recording that effect, but you can only use it once. Follow that? So moving on through these different types of effects here, we have over 40 different types of distortion that you can, once again, either apply to any input or across any single track's playback, if you wish. The same thing with these acoustic and bass effects, and also some microphones. The dual mics allow you to apply that over a pair of inputs or track playbacks. Also the same thing with stereo, if you wanted to do the same thing with stereo keyboards or drum machines, if you wish. I showed you before that set of 8 compressor EQs that you can place as a group over the 8 ends or track playbacks, and finally some mastering effects that go across your entire mix over the master fader right here. We'll look at that later on when we look at mixing down.